Avery Woods finally addresses the drama with Nurse Hannah, or 17 Diapers Mom, on her podcast here. Cheers with Avery on YouTube has 55,000 subscribers. She's grown about 2,000, I think, since I last looked. She had Nurse Hannah on, I think it was November the 4th, 2024. And then once all this allegations and things came out about Hannah, Avery deleted everything. She deleted the podcast on all platforms, so you couldn't find it anywhere. And this podcast, as you can see when I move out of the way, it was put up 3 days ago. And if you don't know who Avery is, don't worry. I really didn't even know who she was. Like, I have seen her here and there, but her type of content is not stuff that I typically watch. But this is her. She has 2.4 million followers on TikTok. She started posting there on 2020, during the pandemic. And then here she did Instagram before that, as basically every influencer did. And she has 634 followers there. As you can see here, it says she's an RN. I don't know if her license is still active, but she was an RN. That's the content that she did on TikTok. And she worked in the PICU, and she is a stepmom to 2. She was a stepmom before she became a biological mother. And I believe those kids are not shared online. I did see some stuff, but it's been speculated on places like Reddit when I was doing my research that the biological mom of the 2 children does not want their children on social media because Avery and her husband share all their kids on social media. They just child exploit.
It's when my character is questioned, the type of mom I am questioned, using my kids for content, exploiting them, all that bullshit.
Don't get me started on exploitation shit, or I will lose my mind.
They don't think they're child exploiters, but if you make money from sharing kids online, that is child exploitation. So I'm really just going to share the highlights here of this and give you my honest reaction to this podcast here. And then after I share that, because I want to show you the inconsistencies of which Avery has said on this podcast episode, I'm going to share this one that she actually did with Nurse Hannah. And this was, like I said, November the 4th, and it's been deleted. I got screen recordings when I was first looking into Nurse Hannah because I was one of the people who just did not jump on the 17 diapers trend when it first went on. This is my 17 diapers. I hated seeing it. I just did not agree with it. That was my personal opinion. And anyone who posted about it, though, got shit on. So I would not do that. I did not want to post that content when the majority of the internet was for her, But anyways, so that's why I was getting screen recordings. And then all this stuff dropped. So I was getting a little bit. I didn't think it was urgent because I honestly just didn't think she was going to delete it. I thought she would just address it and whatever. But because she deleted it, I was able to download the audio version before that got wiped from the internet as well. So I'm going to share that with you and we'll see what you guys think. But it was pretty eye-opening because she basically throws her under the bus in this first video saying oh, I never support her, blah, blah, blah. But she's basically kissing her ass in this first episode. So we're going to see what this is all about. I obviously want to know your opinion. I am just a commentary channel. I'm not trying to shit on either one of these people. They are both, in my opinion, problematic influencers and honestly just go well together, in my opinion. But I know the stuff about Hannah is more extreme than it is with Avery. But they both share their children in compromised positions and too much information about their kids, which I personally just do not agree with. Okay, let's hop into it.
Welcome back to the Cheers podcast. I'm your host, Avery Woods. I'm so happy to be with you today. We're going to do a little catch-up. I did an Instagram Q&A as well as an advice column, and we had lots of people submit lots of things, so we're going to talk all about it. But before we get into it, I do want to address something, and I kind of went back and forth on if I want to talk about this or not, because I did already publicly address it in some comments on TikTok, but...
So her publicly addressing on TikTok, by the way, sorry to already stop it, but was responding to comments on someone else's post, not even her own post. If I can find the screenshot, I'll insert it here. Okay, so I was wrong. She actually did address it, but on her own page, but it was on an older post and it wasn't a dedicated thing. In order to find it, you would have to be someone who's searching it out on her page. So to me, that's not really a public statement, but anyways, it was from December the 3rd of this year on this Trader Joe's haul video. And someone had commented saying, wait, Nurse Hannah was on Cheers. And she responded back, episodes are gone now. I can no longer support her. So for Avery, that was making a public statement. I am not PR. I'm not well versed in social media in that way. But in my opinion, which is nothing, honestly, is that that wasn't a public statement. What she's doing now in this podcast is a public statement, but this is not her already addressing it. You can see it has 10,000 likes or whatever. So it was just like her audience that really saw it, and maybe some like commentary TikTokers or something. But it wasn't even a direct response.
Ultimately, this guest did come on to this podcast, and I did give her a platform, and unfortunately things did not turn out the way that I had expected or hoped. And this is regarding Hannah, who started the 17 diapers trend. And I just want to talk through my thoughts on that, as well as apologize to every single one of our listeners, everyone that watches us on social media and gives our guests an extra platform and social media attention. My regret is we did not do enough research on this person before inviting her onto the podcast, and that is solely our fault.
So the thing about that, though, is that it only recently got found out about her other stuff because people decided to do digging on her. No one did research on Nurse Hannah. Like, I remember when I came across a video of someone saying, like, does anyone know that Nurse Hannah, remember Nurse Hannah is the 17 Diapers mom, is actually the same one who didn't get prenatal care? And I was like, what? And people were like freaking out. And then some people were like, so who does matter? But then that kind of like stopped people from looking deeper. But then more people saw that and decided to dig deeper. So really, Avery can't really fault herself for not, and people are silly to say she didn't do her research. Like, no one did. Everyone let all that stuff fly by. And, whatever. Like, I think she's focusing on the wrong things here in her video.
100% responsibility of that. When the 17 diapers trend was going on, I did not know who the creator was. I had never seen her videos. I had never followed her. The only reason that it was brought to my attention was because myself and the Cheers podcast was being tagged thousands and thousands of times in a video that she had made saying,
are you sure not hundreds?
You know, my dream is to be on the Cheers podcast, which I was very flattered about. And I had seen the 17 diapers trend from other moms. I had seen, you know, my 17 diapers is X, Y, and Z. I didn't know what that had meant at the time until we were getting tagged over and over again. And it was, let's get the 17 diapers mom on Cheers, because she was going through a bunch of hate on the internet.
So she's saying, it, like, that kind of statement when she's like, let's get her on, makes it sound like someone on her team said it. But I will play for you that podcast, the first one. And it was definitely Avery reaching out and like being like, we have to have her on. Like, no matter what, we have to have her on, you know?
But when I was on the app, I kept getting tagged, and Cheers kept getting tagged. I'm like, what is this video? And I click on it, and I had recognized who you were because I saw the trend. Yeah. And I was so honored, and I immediately commented and had Scott. I mean, I literally sent that comment, and I think I sent a screenshot to you and was like, email her right away. And so
I saw the email pop up, and I was like,
oh,
are you? I listen to, like, not to like be weird and like fangirl,
no,
but I
it's not weird.
Always listen to your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Seriously. Oh my gosh. I would have stole your baby.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I was so happy to fly you out. And that's why I told Scott, I was like, you need to reach out to her, see where she's at, offer to fly her out, or we're going to her because we need to have her on.
Which, that was the sole reason I wanted her on the podcast, is I wanted to give her an opportunity to spread positivity, which is the exact reason why I started the Cheers podcast.
That is what she said in the first one.
Scott and I, it's the biggest compliment because this is my happiest place to be for work. Like, this is what really fills my cup, is spreading other people's stories and spreading positivity, because I feel like social media has become such a negative place that when I have people on the podcast, I like to get to know who they are as a person and spread positivity. And I love that your video was just, people were being so nasty, which I've experienced. I'm sure you've seen. I've had my trials and tribulations when it comes to being canceled.
Oh gosh.
But when you can look at it in a positive light and turn it into something good, I just really admire that. So I can't wait to hear more about your story.
Wanted a platform for people in the social media world, in the public eye, to talk about the positive impact that they are creating, to bring positive attention to them, because the industry that we work in is so negative, and we're constantly being bashed, we're constantly getting hate comments, we're getting threats, we're getting DMs that are so nasty.
You put your life online, it's going to happen, especially when you're someone like Avery who's like, I love my daughter, but I love my son like more, or whatever the video was. I can insert it whenever.
My boy moms feel me on this, but my son has my heart and my soul. I obviously am obsessed with Stevie Lee. She is just the greatest little girl in the world. But my whole life, I always wanted to be a boy mom. And I remember when I found out I was pregnant with him, and I was just ecstatic because I was such a tomboy.
But people are going to call, like, you put your whole life on this platform, like literally raising it up to people to see, you know, people are going to have an opinion. And yeah, even I get lots of, like, you can call them hate comments, but criticism, you know, whatever. And it just comes with it. It comes with it. You know, people pick on how you look and things that you can't even change about yourself. It just happens.
And I feel like a lot of podcasts really thrive on getting the tea, right? They want every detail of these people's lives in order to get views and monetization. That is not why I started this podcast. I started this podcast.
Oh God, she's shitting on podcasts. What, like Trisha Paytas' podcast? I love that podcast. I think she's very good at getting the tea, very good at diving deeper, being on trending topics right away. And this is what people want. The reason why people like Avery aren't influencers, because people, like, she's made her life seem exciting enough or drama enough that people want to watch. And then what keeps them relevant is commentary, tea channels, continuing to talk about them, and then driving traffic to their pages, you know? So I think there's just like, people want to be influencers without like the realistic thing on, like, you can't just get the money and the love. Like, you can't live in an echo chamber. That's not that's not even the reality of life.
To humanize people that have been dehumanized by an audience and by the public, and that can really weigh on people. And I know personally it's weighed on me. As you guys know, I really struggled with my mental health in the beginning of the year.
That was because of that boy mom video of, you know, if you saw those videos going around of the, like, toxic boy moms, you know, like, they have more love for their sons and their daughters, and that will create a whole host of issues. I was already been working on a video about that, like the ramifications of that in the future. Like, they're going to be like monster-in-law, mother-in-laws.
Because of social media. And I did not do enough research on this girl. I regret that so much. I didn't know anything about her, quote, nursing career.
All you have to do is click her profile, and Hannah says she is an LPN. Even her username, I think, is Hannah LPN. At least on Facebook it is. And I think on Instagram, like, so I was wrong. When you click her profile, this was her profile. The bottom one here was her profile when everything first broke, like the number one day that this happened. And as you can see here, her profile says she's a long-term care travel nurse and mama. She did not put LPN, although her content does say she's an LPN. And it has her management there and her link tree and her Instagram. But then the top one, this is what it looks like today as I'm recording this. And it says she's a long-term care travel nurse. It has her link tree, but her management's not there, which is interesting. Did her management drop her? Probably. But as you can see, she's grown quite significantly, 496,000, 0.6 thousand followers. On her Facebook, this is her backup Facebook page. She has a one that she is just Hannah, like Nurse Hannah. And then she always tags this one. This one, she does say she's an LPN. And this is on Facebook. And this is where she posts everything that she hasn't been posting on TikTok. She will post on Facebook, like, currently now. That's like basic, bare minimum research to see that her name says LPN. She never has claimed to be an RN. She says nurse because she is a nurse, but she's a different kind of nurse, you know, but still valuable. So I think you're going to see Avery's privilege and, I think, like, her mean girl attitude. I wonder if she was like a mean girl in high school. Like, I know I said I wasn't going to shit on her, but she's kind of coming across as a mean girl, in my opinion.
I had never seen anything regarding the way she was treating her children. It's such a big regret that I have that I gave her this platform without doing more research.
Okay, the platform, I'll insert a screenshot here of how many views it had on the day it was deleted. And you can see here, it's 11,000 views. That is nothing of a platform. I probably got more views on TikTok, but when I was searching for clips before the big deletion, there was barely any views on things. So she didn't give her that big of a platform. Like, yeah, Avery has a good platform outside of her podcast, and it's growing. It takes time to grow. She's been doing it for like a year, almost a year, something like that. But it wasn't, I don't know. It's not like she's a podcaster who has like She's not a Trisha Paytas, you know, so that's not the platform that she has that she gave to Hannah. You know what I mean?
A lesson that we have learned, and we will never make that mistake again. It will never happen again. We will do everything.
Okay. I'm just going to skip to the part. This is so obnoxious. Okay.
You know,
yeah.
But I didn't know enough.
Let me go back a little bit.
To provide for her family. That's how I saw it, but I didn't know enough. And
hold on, my husband's vacuuming, and now I have to close my door.
And there was a moment on her podcast interview that things kind of started clicking for me, that I realized I did not do enough research on this girl, and she was not being honest about her nursing career. And if you had listened to the episode,
I did.
Before
you will
it
too.
was deleted, then you might remember when I said, "Oh, and where'd you go to nursing school?" And she said, "Oh, I graduated nursing school in high school." And I remember immediately looking over at Scott, and I was like, "Oh no," because obviously I'm a registered nurse. I went to nursing school. I know the education it requires. I know the time and sacrifice it requires in order to put those two letters after your name.
Which she actually has LPN, not RN. So she, like I said, she didn't look at her profile properly because it says LPN, not RN, I think. I believe I'm correct.
And it is not something that you can get in high school. And I immediately thought in my head, oh my God, you're a CNA. And I felt so uncomfortable because I knew immediately that the nursing community was going to be like, Avery, what the fuck? Because I'm literally talking to this girl like she is a nurse. Because she's telling me she's a nurse at a long-term care facility.
Which she is a nurse at a long-term care facility, but she's an LPN. She's not an RN, she's an LPN, which is a licensed practical nurse, I think. I think that's right.
And she's like, I know that that's not typical, you know, for a nurse to work in long-term care, but I thoroughly enjoy it. So in my head, it is kind of unusual for a registered nurse to work in a long-term care facility unless they really enjoy it, which is, there's different types of nursing for everyone, or it's very accommodating with a family schedule. So I didn't think twice about it. I thought, oh yeah, you have a newborn, you have a young child, and maybe that schedule is great for you. And then when she told me she graduated nursing school, quote unquote, in high school, and she works for a long-term care facility, I said, oh my God, you're a nursing assistant. And when you work your ass off to go to nursing school and get that education and you take that NCLEX, it is a privilege to call yourself a nurse because you worked so fucking hard for it.
Yeah, obviously. So she obviously didn't pay attention, like I said, numerous times to what Hannah actually calls herself in all of her content.
I just immediately was like, oh my God. Internally I was freaking out. And that's when I kind of tried to shift with questions.
So I think Avery's take with her podcast that she did with Hannah is that she's trying to spin it like, first of all, she didn't know, she didn't do her research, you know, trying to show that, you know, I'm so sorry, like kind of bowing down to the public. But that part doesn't really even matter because no one knew. It was all a thing that was just discovered by creators and people online. And so that's really nothing to apologize for. Like, no one knew. She could have just said, like, we found this stuff out as everyone else did online and we removed the podcast. But now she's spinning it like, first of all, we should have done enough research. And then trying to spin another narrative like Hannah deceived them. And, you know, how she's wording things, in my opinion, I could be wrong, obviously. But how she's wording it is that she did this interview with Hannah and she found out at some point a while into the podcast, because that's what it sounds like she's trying to portray it as, that she found out that Hannah did nursing in high school. And, you know, she looked at Scott and was like, this is a red flag. And that she was talking to her the whole podcast. So whatever length of time you think that is, in my brain, I think like maybe at least half the podcast. So when she's wording it like that, if I didn't see it myself, you know, is that she's wording it like she spoke to her like we're nurses, you know, like the whole time. And then she eventually shifted the interview to asking questions, which is what she just said, which is what I was playing for you and reacting to. But that is false. And I want to show you the actual timestamps. I don't know if I'm playing the whole podcast. It's kind of boring, honestly. But let me know if you guys want the whole podcast, if I haven't included it all. But I'm going to show you right now this the podcast, okay? It's not in the order that this follow-up apology addressing video is perceiving it as at all. And I'm not trying to, like I said, shit on her. I just don't like when people lie. Like, anything I've ever covered, like, I just don't like when people lie, stretch the truth. Like, I just don't like it. So here I'm going to play it for you. So I did cut out the intro, like, of like, who's 17 diapers? Like, it's like the whole crazy intro, they do to get you to stay and watch. That was like about a minute. So this is how the podcast starts. I'm going to show you the timestamps of when things were mentioned, because she says, all that stuff.
I'm your host, Avery Woods, and today
Okay, so as you can see, we're in the very beginning of the podcast. And, some of the stuff I've already played for you guys.
Weeks. Oh, of course.
So,
in Mexico anymore. We're all...
Here, about 2 minutes in, you can see she's asking her. I'll pause on the screen at the right spot. So she says, so it's so fun. I don't know if I said this before, but I did auto caption, so sorry if they're not correct. But she says, tell me about your background. And this is 2 minutes and 32 seconds into the podcast. And then this is what Hannah says to her. Okay, I'm going to go back to 2:47. Here, right here.
High school. Became a nurse at 18.
No, I'm going to go.
I went to
I'm
nursing
going to go to 2:40.
I went to nursing school.
I'm going to go to 2:44.
Let's see. I went to nursing school in high school.
So that's at minute 2:40, 2 minutes and 47 seconds to 2 minutes and 48 seconds, where she reveals she became a nurse in high school. That is not like she had this whole conversation with her and then figured out she was a nurse in high school and how that's impossible. That is a little bit deceiving to me. And then she says she was talking to her about nursing and then eventually learned that she was a long-term care travel nurse and how like that's not like really a normal thing. But I'm going to show you now. Okay, so I'm going to show you at 7 minutes and 14 seconds.
We do travel nursing too, so then we keep that as well. No, just me. Just he works from home, so we can kind of just bounce around wherever. Nice. So then, when we were deciding where to go, like for a contract, I was like, I want to go back to Arizona. Was that during COVID? No, this was we lived here for when I was in school. When my first one was 6 weeks old, we moved here. Okay. So he was little. So because we had a lot of an influx of travel nurses here during the pandemic, obviously, because it was so crazy. But what kind of nurse are you? So I do long-term care. Okay. So very different from what your typical like nurse does. Yeah. But still very important. Yeah. So I got into long-term care right away. That's the only thing I've ever done is long-term. Wow. I got into it. And I was like, well, like, see, like, I'll just do it for a little bit. I don't know, like, that's, no one, like, dreams to be, like, because long-term care is, like, a nursing home. Yeah. So, that was never, like, my dream. But then I just got into it and kind of got stuck with it. And I was like, wait, I love this. Oh, see, it's, like, my favorite thing. Yeah. Yeah. I have no, like, plan to go anywhere else with it. And when I did clinicals with, like, because they have you do long-term care facilities, like, when you're first starting out, like, my first semester, I think, in nursing school, and there was a lot of nurses that were like, no, I'm totally happy here. Yeah. Like, I feel like every nurse kind of has their calling. Mine was PICU, yours is long-term, and you just kind of stick with it, and that's what makes you happy, and as long as you're happy and fulfilled, that's all that matters. No, I love it. And anyone I talk to, they're like, long-term, like, why? Why would you, it's so different from nurse. It's not like your typical ideal, like, what the day looks like as a nurse. It's so different. And you obviously worked night shift, and I feel like, because I was just telling you, I worked full-time night shift until Ziggy was 10 months old, and that was when I was pregnant with him, he was up until he's...
So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but she talks about how she did, it just worked better with her schedule, and like how a lot of moms typically go for night shifts. But I did see a post that she had did about like being stuck on night shifts when she was working as a nurse. So I think it wasn't her choice. She made it sound here as if it was her choice, maybe because Hannah it was her choice, but I don't think that was the first choice for Avery. And that's okay. But she made it sound as if that was her choice because of having kids and blah, blah, blah. But as you can see here, where I ended it was 9 minutes and 16 seconds into a 45-minute podcast. That is not like you had this long conversation and then eventually it was like, I gotcha. I'm not really a nurse, or I'm an LPN, or how she took it as first was like a CNA, but then she later says like, oh, actually we looked it up and she's an LPN.
I wanted to make sure, so we just looked it up on the Utah State Board of Nursing, but she is an LPN, not a CNA. So that's my fault. I assumed that she was a CNA because she said she graduated nursing school in high school, but she is an LPN, a licensed practical nurse, which is why she does not work in a hospital.
She's deceiving her audience by making it, because no one can go back and fact check it, right? Because she deleted it. But I have it, but I'm sure other people have it too. But that's not at all what happened. They had a genuine conversation. She was asking questions from the hop, like, what do you do? I did this in high school, blah, blah, blah. Long-term care travel nurse. 9 minutes into the podcast. It actually started about 7 minutes into the podcast, And then she kept asking questions the whole time, So it's not what Avery's saying it is, which is why I'm doing a video on this, because it's just, I watched her follow video and I was like, what the frick? Like, I wasn't even going to cover the original podcast, but then seeing this, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, she's trying to spin it as just like this nursing thing. Like, Hannah lied to me about her nursing, and like the nursing community is going to hate me and all this kind of stuff for having her on. And like, she lied, like doing it a different angle, like painting herself. I think Avery's trying to paint herself as the victim here. And she's not the victim here. She was just a podcast host who had a guest, who the guest ended up being like a piece of crap. And all you have to say is, we didn't know she was a piece of crap. Sorry, we took it down, and, end of story sort of thing. And we hope the best for Hannah's children. That's what needed to be done, in my opinion. And again, I'm a nobody.
And again, I knew in my head I should have done more research on this girl. But again, I flew her out here to try to give her a positive platform when it comes to 17 diapers. That was my goal. My goal was, you got a lot of shit. You got canceled at the ass because of the 17 diapers trend.
She didn't really get canceled.
Which, do I think it's normal to have 17 dirty diapers in your house after like a day or so? No, I don't.
But in the first podcast, you say yes. Yeah.
Woke up that day really sick and my husband was gone. And people kind of attacked him for being gone. So like new into like postpartum. But we had talked about it. I'm like, he was gone for a day and I was like, I can handle it. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was kind of struggling all day long. And newborns go through so many diapers.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Well,
yeah.
And that's what people don't understand is that means you're taking great care of them.
Right,
You're not having him sit.
We're focusing on the wrong part
in
here.
a poopy diaper all day. You're changing them so that he's
right.
clean. He doesn't have a rash. You're doing your job as a mom.
So we just went through so many diapers that day. And I don't have a diaper pail. I don't want to throw away the nasty poopy diapers in my kitchen trash can so that my kitchen stinks.
Mm-hmm.
So what we always do, what we try to do, is like we put them in like a plastic, like a Walmart bag or something. Mm-hmm. We tie it up, and then we usually take it out to the outside garbage can. That just didn't happen that day. My fear is my toddler's had a hard time adjusting to having a new baby around, and he wants to help a lot. And so my fear is if I turn my head for 2 seconds, he's going to be like holding the baby or like holding it by its legs or something like that. So I just can never take my eyes off.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go take out diapers to the trash and leave the kids unattended. So I just kind of like will toss the diapers to the side. And at the end of the day, I put the kids to sleep and I was just kind of tidying up and I was like, holy cow, there are so many diapers. And I just thought it was kind of funny just to like, let's make a video about it. Mm-hmm. Thought it was going to be like an average, regular video, nothing viral, nothing crazy. And then exploded.
Yeah.
Like I remember telling my husband the next day and I was like, should I be embarrassed? Like is this like it make us look like we're horrible people? Because people were commenting saying that like they're going to call CPS. This is a biohazard.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like so many things like you're a horrible mother. You don't deserve to have children. Some nasty thing. Thousands and thousands and thousands of comments.
I think your video has like over 11,000 comments, which is nuts.
So many of them are filtered too. So it's probably closer to like 20,000, honestly.
Yeah.
Because you can like filter all the, whatever words.
Yeah.
So yeah, so many of them are like filtered.
Do I think mom shaming is okay? I don't think mom shaming is okay if it's not validated, if it's not warranted. I loved the positivity that came out of the trend, and that's what I wanted to focus on. And I wanted to focus on how something really negative was turned into something really positive for her. But when she left, Scott and I immediately had that conversation of, oh no, I don't think that she is being honest about her career, her education. And right away, when that episode went live, we were getting comments from the nursing community.
Sorry, lighting change. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you know it gets dark at like 4 p.m. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about here is how they're bonding in this podcast. It wasn't that she just had her alarm bells, as in Avery had her alarm bells the whole time. They were bonding over like internet hate, and they don't like commentary channels. People who like use their content and try to talk about them, like what I'm doing right now, they don't like it because they say that smaller creators are trying to get bigger, talking about bigger creators, and it's like what I was saying earlier. People talking about them keeps them relevant. I mean, I know they keep themselves relevant, obviously, but controversy, when they say like no press is bad press, it's kind of like that, in my opinion. I think a lot of people think that.
I've had so many people try and get big off of like my nursing videos. They're like, they make it controversial.
What about
mom stuff? Like,
what do they say about your nursing videos?
Oh, there was this one that I made a video like at the very beginning of my start on TikTok.
Okay.
Some random thing about, I used to always be just nursing content.
That was me.
Because my husband was like, I don't want the camera in my face at home.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll just kind of talk about nursing stuff.
For sure.
And so I was just doing nursing, and I remember talking about, and this was like when I had maybe like 5,000 followers. Like I was nobody. And I made a video about like being at work and like a colostomy bag had exploded on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, this is so gross. Because it's like literal poop.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm like, that's
bag
gross.
is a bag full of poop.
Yeah. And it got on me. I made like had like a comment saying that like, or it was like a picture thing, right? And then someone made a video recently, like years later, talking about how I'm a horrible person because I'm so judgmental that someone's colostomy bag got on me.
They always try to judge up your
and it was
shit.
Huge. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, just because I'm a nurse doesn't mean that I'm okay with having like all these nasty things on me. And but it was someone that was like some small creator that just wanted to like, take those videos to like bash on me because they knew that she's bigger.
Oh yeah.
So me bashing on her will make me have me get the attention.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've had people try to pull like old Instagram highlights from like 5 years ago and compare it to things that I say now. Avery Woods is a liar. I'm like, girl, let's sit down and have a chat and talk about what you think I'm lying about. It's pathetic and sad, and that's just the way it is.
So that is pretty much all I have for today's video. Sorry for the lull in content. I think it's been just over a week since I posted, and I was becoming more consistent. If you know what it's like having 2 young toddlers, it's a lot. And so, but it was more so the blue deal phase for me. This time was so hard, and I have endometriosis, so day 1 has been hell. Anyways, thank you for being here. I am going to do more content this month. I'm looking forward to sharing more influencer stuff and perhaps getting back into my deep diving ways as well. Anyways, I hope you guys had a fantastic week and you're getting your Christmas shopping done. I'm saving all my wrapping for Christmas Eve. So future Jessica, she can deal with it. I sound crazy, but I just don't want to move my presents from the basement fully wrapped and potentially ruin them and bring them upstairs, And I like the Christmas magic of having them under the tree when my kids wake up in the morning for Christmas versus them sitting there. I don't judge what you do, but that's just personally what I like. Anyways, bye guys.